you afraid of?
I don't know.
Shall I tell you what's out there?
Yes, please.
The dragon. A beast of such power that if you were to see it whole and all complete in a single glance, it would burn you to cinders.
Where is it?
It is everywhere. It is everything. Its scales glisten in the bark of trees. Its roar is heard in the wind, and its forked tongue strikes like... Wow, like lightning.
Yes, and that would be because the wolf, as always, seems to have this little weird thing with remembering to turn on the goddamn audio. So yes, here we are finally, everybody.
We've been talking this whole time.
Yes, we've been having a conversation for the past 8 minutes, and John, thankfully, says, hey, I don't hear any fucking audio.
That explains
that would
why.
explain why there was no audio. Thank you, Brother John, for saving us in that moment. Because we would have just continued talking to ourselves and wondering why, hey, nobody's really got anything interesting to say.
So tonight's fireside chat night.
So yeah, we're having a fireside chat with...
Hello, Saban, Melissa, Ethan.
Hello, everybody.
Heather,
yes.
John,
So now
Sarah.
that we've, completely fuckled the first 9 minutes of the podcast.
I mean, we're just literally sitting here having a full-on conversation.
Yes, we were just having a full-on conversation about one of my rants. Okay,
yes.
But first off, again, welcome everybody. Thank you again for coming out. Tonight's format, as you can see from the fire, is the fireside chat, which means basically tonight's podcast is driven by interaction with all of you. So whatever you want to talk about, rant, rave, scream, cry, laugh, give a fuck, don't give a fuck, it's all good.
Have questions for us? Want to talk about what your neighbors
But happy Thanksgiving if you're into that kind of thing.
Happy Thanksgiving. We have a special errand tomorrow morning.
Yes. Tomorrow morning we are going to the infamous Rochester Public Market to pick up our first organic turkey.
And this thing's like 18
to 20 pounds. It's from one of the local organic growers. Again, simple context. Trying to support, local businesses out here.
Yep.
Also, trying to be a little bit more conscientious of the types of things we put in our bodies. I'm just not down on, fucking property X that gets shot into the turkey's ass, the antibiotics, the hormones, the GMOs.
That? You watch it with the chickens and stuff too, where they
it's horrible.
All the,
So yeah, we're trying a different route. Yeah, listen, your phone is not fucked up. I fucked up. So that's fucked up.
That's fucked up. No, we don't.
Yeah, everybody thought their shit was fucked up. Yeah, I was just sitting here just wondering why everybody's all quiet and shit. It's like, no, idiot, you forgot to hit the goddamn button. Welcome to the joys of technology.
Right.
As you can tell, I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm not a professional influencer.
We'll get you there.
I'm not a I'm a professional fucking sarcasm.
You're a professional jackass. No.
Whoa.
Isn't that what they call it on that show? Isn't that called Jackass, where they fuck with people
I'm
and
not
stuff?
that guy.
You're not gonna fuck with people?
No, not like that.
Oh, okay. No, one of my favorite
that
things.
Shit's insane. Those guys are like,
they're crazy.
They're broken.
But
man.
my favorite thing was on the first Jackass when they were going to the golf course with the air horn.
How the fuck did our Thanksgiving element just segue into Jackass?
On golf
all right, so hang on a second while I kick the witch out of the room and send her off to clean the toilets or something. The only thing that ever come out of T-Mobile is their 5G home internet.
Right.
Listen, I mean, you can make a case about any of them. Most of them have absolutely horrendously shitty customer service.
Oh, yeah.
Intermittent, technology issues, sporadic service. It's like the cable companies, they know they have us over a barrel. They don't really give a shit. They're like, hey, what are you going to do? Go back to sending smoke signals.
That sounds like fun, actually.
Listen, I mean, again,
I wonder if
we are slaves to the technology to the degrees that it is, but,
right.
Imagine a world without it. I remember as a kid, what I mean, we had, radio.
Yeah.
And we had, we had TV. We didn't have, like, all these cable stations. We had a couple of stations.
And it would go off at, like, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2
right,
o'clock in the morning.
National anthem would come on.
And then you wake up and your TV's going, doo.
Buzz, yes. Oh, those were good old days, yeah.
That would wake me right the heck up.
See, I didn't even fuck around with that. I would just go to the radio, because the radio would never stop. So 3 o'clock in the morning, you know what I mean, Lenny Block would be, blasting out classic rock.
I ended up getting like a double tape deck for a while. So one would rewind and then the other would play. And you could put it on a repeat kind of thing going on.
Yeah, the cable company episode of South Park. South Park's got so many great fucking parodies on.
Hello, Lee.
Lee, how you doing? How's everybody in your end of the world? Yeah, Heather said it perfectly. She can't switch internet providers because there is only one in her area.
Unfortunately,
So,
that happens.
Yeah, it just, there's not a whole lot of choices. Listen, again, you make best with what you have. You deal with the cards that you're dealt with. It is what it is to many degrees.
And it's because of big conglomerates like that, it's good to remember the little guy, shop local when you can, like we're doing with our church.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the little things that we can do, I am a big supporter of, the local element.
Yes.
You know what I mean? These are the things that really, keep our communities connected in many ways.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, it's not always possible, but to the degrees that we can, when you can purchase or do your business with local, businesses, it's better for everybody.
Absolutely.
In the
Why
long
are you
run.
feeling down, Lee? Tonight's Fireside Chat night,
Oh,
guys.
no, she says trying
else.
to eat and keep it down. In
Oh,
other
trying
words,
to eat and keep
she's
it
trying
down.
to keep that food down.
Yeah, a little bit of
Yes.
morning sickness in the evening going on there.
There you go.
So I'll tell you what's important when you're pregnant, listen to your body, eat the foods that your body is craving, because baby knows what baby wants.
Yep, and she knows. So yeah, enjoy the ride, definitely, for whatever that is worth. And
No, it's not her first go
no,
rodeo on
it's
this
definitely not. But she has all of our love and support and blessings.
Absolutely. Gotta get that.
John is back to the corporate masters. All right, hang in there, brother. You'll be out of the salt mine soon enough. Much love again, as always.
Much
We'll
love
be
back to you,
playing that
Jonathan.
track later on this evening again.
Yes.
Brother John Porter, very good friend, good supporter, collaborator, all around good guy.
Yeah, all around good guy.
See, what do you want to see? This is what I get. You fuck with
I gotta
me,
pick
now
on
you fuck
him.
with. You're just
I
in
gotta fuck
you're
with
in a
John.
fuck with everybody mood today.
I am.
What's up with that?
Because I can.
Just because you can?
Because I can. Do I need a
Because you're an
better
Aries.
reason?
That's
'Cause
what I
I'm
think.
Aries, absolutely.
Fucking fire signs. Always want to burn shit down.
Fire.
Always want to burn shit down.
I mean, I'm burning shit down right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's a great point. There's always something burning in here, isn't there?
When I'm in here, yeah, generally.
Yeah.
But that's an actual spell.
Welcome
candle.
to my life.
Yes.
So yes,
that's what you get.
Aries,
for
Moon,
picking
and
the witch.
Mercury in the same way. Yeah, yeah, no doubt. So we have some interesting things coming up. We do have next Tuesday, November 30th, and December 2nd, that Thursday, the next in the series of the Empath in You workshops, Anxiety and Fears.
Yes.
I'm
scared.
Like that isn't a common denominator for most of us.
If you're breathing, then I've pretty much
Listen, I
can
mean,
say,
again, anxiety and fears tend to be, two of the primary driving forces in a lot of our, everyday and ongoing problems.
and unfortunately, they can get to where they control us instead of us being in control of them.
I mean, again, half the problem is, and again, it's part of, my approach to things is finding the practical application, aka how does it actually work for you? Because words are great. You can string some words together. You can have a parrot recite fucking scripture. Jesus loves you.
Jesus loves you. Jesus is coming.
But unfortunately, it has no framework. It has no contextual meaning. It is just mimicry. So, aka my philosophy is, words have no meaning without the actions to define them, and that is the hardest thing that most of us struggle with, is learning how to face not only the fears and anxieties, the confidence obviously being core, but putting it into a practical application that works for us.
Yes.
So again, as always, that will be next Tuesday the 30th, also followed by podcast,
Thursday.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Next week, I will be having my brother Chris Miller on. It'll be an evening with Chris Miller.
I am really looking forward to that. I am
Yes,
excited.
yeah, my brother Chris, he's an interesting
Liz.
character. And hello, Shauna and Liz and everybody. Thank you for coming out. So we have that coming up. We have a bunch of, different things. I mean, one of the things, obviously, that's big and I think, drives a lot of the community is the mentorship circle.
Yes. And that's been growing by leaps and bounds. And we're doing, a few times a week, we're doing group journaling now. And that is being very transformative. Today's journaling topic was on forgiveness.
Ooh.
And And, can you forgive? Should you forgive? And if you did forgive, how does that change your life?
Yeah, that's another one of those, depends on the context type of thing. A lot of people make the case, and don't get me wrong, forgiveness is beautiful. But there's part of this Brooklyn Wolf that just like some motherfuckers don't deserve to be forgiven.
Well, I think I've always said forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you.
Yes.
It doesn't, and just because I forgive, I don't believe in the whole forgive and forget context. Fuck that. You fuck me over, I am fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice.
But it is about balance.
Or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me,
But I have come to find, especially since, knowing you now for a little while, as they say. A couple minutes or two. A lot of really good exchanges go on within the mentorship circle. You have a lot of teaching elements, be it Tarot, Reiki, and others. But also within the community aspects. I mean, you just did the other night spell class.
Yeah, the
that was
spellcasting
really
class.
wild.
I did. I actually ended up doing two because my friend Melanie France has a group as well, so I did one for her group also. But on the spell crafting class, we did a money spell together, and my gosh, the next morning, some people were already seeing results, but they learned how to make their own spells, set their own intentions, all that cool stuff. It was pretty nifty. Liz says she'll forgive, but she will never forget.
Absolutely. Listen, sometimes that is really the framework. If we're going to be honest, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean we carry it like a fucking poison.
Right.
But, listen, again, sometimes a duck is a duck is a duck. And it isn't, again, anything more than, again, the lesser of two evils sometimes. You know what I mean? Versus, putting ourselves in jeopardy or risk or, even in the simplest analogies, and I have certain, again, if I go to a fucking McDonald's and you fuck up my order twice, guess what? I'm not forgiving you, and I'm not. You're going to shop there. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to go back and burn the fucking place down. But in the same instance, listen. It just
means that you're not going to, you're not going to support that. If they're bad business, go away. Heather, you got money on Sunday from the clinical trial you're in. Yay!
Congratulations.
Happy? That's good. That was extra money from the spell, I guess. She was part of the spell.
Oh,
thing.
nice.
That's why that's coming out.
Well, listen, again, sometimes it's the little things. You know what I mean? And it's not always visible to us. We'll be distracted by this or that or caught up in this shit or that, and rightfully so. And then we miss the little magical moments, again, as they say. Which is why, again, in a simplest context, for us, Thanksgiving is about the families, about the friends. It's not about, we were talking about it. Well, we were trying to talk about it earlier. It wasn't actually happening. But, the kind of conceptual, hi, white man, come and kill Indians and let's have a celebration and eat turkey type of thing. But it is a framework within still, at least culturally, to celebrate with family. It's the same analogy, with Christmas. I don't look at Christmas as, Full Metal Jacket, the birth of Jesus Day.
No.
Tell me, Prophet Paul, do you love Jesus?
Okay, now we talked about rants earlier.
Uh-oh.
All right?
Here we go.
And here's the thing. Thanksgiving and Christmas are both originally pagan traditions.
Ooh, do tell us.
Okay, even Thanksgiving is actually a carryover from the Samhain celebration or the final harvest at the end of the October. So it's just actually been pushed into November for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure, but especially Christmas. Christmas is a freaking pagan tradition, inside, outside.
Christmas is,
You can't, it's the birth of the sun, S-U-N. S-U-N, like the big glowy ball in the sky that has UV radiation coming off of it. Yeah,
that
sun, not the S-O-N. He was actually, historically, Jesus was born in September, around the Feast of Trumpets.
I don't even have a fucking framework for that.
That's the whole seminary training right there for me. But basically, the longest night, right now we're at a point where I'm sure everybody notices, it's dark at 4 fucking clock up here.
Well, some of that's the daylight savings and stupidity.
Right, but because the days are shorter, and the days continually get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, right up until the solstice, the winter solstice, at which point we have the longest night, and everybody stays up on the longest night, or keeps a candle on, or keeps the fire burning or something, and gets up the next morning to watch the sunrise, because that's when the days start getting longer. So it's the rebirth of the sun, S-U-N. So we celebrate the sun rising.
I mean, unless you're up in the deep, deep, deep north where you're doing the 30 days of night dance.
Yeah, what was it? That's Alaska. They're in their nighttime right now, and they're going to be in nighttime until next year. Yeah, I saw a post on that the other day. I'm like, yeah, if you're in this particular town in Alaska, the sun just set until next year.
Bye-bye, son.
Shit. That's right.
But listen, they all share, and, again, this is my perspective, my opinion on it, if you will. Everything takes from elements of the past. If you look at anything, and if you look at it from a historical framework, elements of religion, philosophy, dogma, technology, language, you name it, they're all built. They're all layers upon layers that have passed on from, one period to the next, and they're altered and adapted. It is, again, the end product of just, many ingredients being kind of put into the mix and then kind of played out again. Music, if you look at music, you can trace frameworks from, early, jazz and big band to blues and gospel, rock and roll, metal,
everything
punk,
can go far enough
hip-hop,
back and find
rap.
it somewhere else. Yeah.
Everything except country. Country's an analogy onto its own.
Hey, what happens if
we're not going to go there?
What happens if you play a country song
I'm
backwards?
not. Listen, I'll just fucking mute you. We're not even doing country. This is not. It's not that kind of party.
I can make fun of country music.
You can make fun of country, but I'm not doing no stupid country fucking music jokes on here. I'm not even going to give it that energy.
It's just making fun of country.
It's like Texas.
Music.
Texas can go fuck itself as far as I'm concerned.
I love Texas, except for
I want
recently.
Texas to secede. I really do. I want to give them what they want. Because the stupidity of it, and here it comes, rant.
Here
it is. And I'm sorry for everybody, again, but, here would be the trade-off. Texas gets to secede as long as everybody that doesn't want to be part of their fucking stupidity gets a check to leave Texas. And then Texas can secede and then see how they like life now, cut off from all the other elements of support that they've been enjoying since the inception of them into the goddamn country.
Well, they certainly didn't like it when their power grid shut down.
Yeah, well.
Earlier in the year. Because they wanted to have, they've seceded on their power grid.
Listen, they have
well.
perfected the art of customer service, as George Carlin would say. They bend people over and fuck them dry. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. It is and has always been a context of class warfare to many degrees. And we get distracted by the social issues. We get distracted by the religious dogmatic elements. We get distracted by all the other things while a very, very select few continue to manipulate and take, whereas the rest of us, like hamsters in the wheel, we run through trying, to get our little piece of the pie. Ash is like, why do you want to get rid of Callie, Ash?
Because they put weird shit on pizza.
What? See, what? You want to get rid of a state because of what they put on pizza?
That's always
fucking Texas, wants to basically bring back slavery.
Yeah.
And remove women's ability to vote and basically make them indentured slaves.
The thing is, California,
they'll be like 2 steps ahead of African Americans.
California has become overly litigious on all of their stuff. They've got the worst. I mean, I see some of their point, but some of their regulations and stuff, they've actually crippled their infrastructure in California in so many regards.
See, that's kind of odd, because I saw an article that said that they're on course again to have a budget surplus again.
That'd be nice, but last time I was dealing with California state stuff, we'd have people come in. I was, of course, dealing with it with vocational rehabilitation, but they had the worst vocational rehabilitation, like helping people with disabilities. They had the worst in the entire nation.
Listen, there are a lot of issues out there. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody has it perfectly or anybody is, immune to criticism within whatever framework, be it natural rights.
Here's my funny.
Ash says, full of hypocrites. They try and rule with their hearts and minds and praise those that hurt children while enslaving their prisoners. Listen, again, there's a case to be made within many, many different aspects of our society that there's a lot of double standards. There's a lot of hypocrisy in how we approach a lot of things. Be it within our education system, be it within how we take care of our sick and our elderly.
Yeah.
How we, let's be honest, how we police, how we maintain any framework of justice and law.
Yep. I have to say though, here's my funny with the whole California and Texas thing. We allow them both to secede. You know what's going to happen is we're going to have a California versus Texas war, and we can all sit back and watch it.
I'm not down on the war thing. I would rather not see innocent people have to suffer. Again, I'd rather do it George Carlin's. I'd rather do it George Carlin's way. You get all the pedophiles, the assholes, the corporate scumbags, the rapists, and you build a big wall around Kansas, and you throw them all into Kansas, and you throw like baseball bats and knives and
so
rusty spoons.
About like Escape from New York,
right? And then you put it on pay-per-view, and then you sell it, and you just let them all go fucking berserk on each other. Okay, they get Kansas. It'll be like the Purge every day in Kansas. And then everybody else gets to just have basically normal lives where we don't have to worry about, fucking insanity.
Hopefully we move everybody else out of Kansas first.
I don't know. Some people may want to stay just to, be a part of that. I don't know. It depends on your group. Listen, there are some people that, and let's call it out for what it is, that openly crave for the chaos.
No, that is true.
They want confrontation. They want anarchy. It's a distraction. It is an adrenaline rush. It is a game.
Your internet trolls.
Well, your internet trolls, they're the weaker end of the spectrum because, they're really, let's be honest.
Keyboard warriors, they hide behind a screen, and they're.
And again, you can even make a case like here. I am, I'm on the screen. I'm a voice. But I put my shit out there, you know what I mean? I don't pretend, you know what I mean? I'm not hiding behind, other elements. And listen, I've danced the dance from both ends of the spectrum. My family has. My grandfather, my namesake, Frank A. Capel, was, one of the key conspiracy right-wing fringe guys back in the day.
Wow.
Got wrapped up into the whole JFK conspiracy thing, the FBI, blah, 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 you know what I mean? To the degree, that it became so chaotic that my family had to move out of New York to New Jersey, out into the sticks, because this was, right after JFK got assassinated.
Wow.
So a lot of people, again, right or wrong, looked at that through their perspective lens. You had a lot of cultural elements that were going on at the time. You had the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
You had the whole cultural shift within music, hippie power,
60s,
love.
Yes.
You had really for the first time, racial equality elements that were coming into play, voting rights, Civil Rights Act, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X,
starting to see
the Beach Boys.
Stuff at that point,
shit was crazy. You know what I mean? And I was looking at this the other day. It is really amazing that a lot of these elements have been in play for a long time, and not unlike seeds, they have grown, they have evolved. Those fruits have borne new seeds and new evolutions within it. But back in the day, and I'm going to do this on one of my podcasts next year because I really want to take the time to pull all the archival elements. But I have some archival audio tapes from my grandfather speaking at a Federalist convention in
wow.
Boston in 1972.
Wow.
In regards to the communist conspiracy. And a lot of all those talking points and analogies are the same fucking things that we're hearing played out today, just with a deeper, harder edge to it. Yeah. You know, a lot of that deep down, you know, just kind of, you know, my God is better than your God.
And I think the government thrives on that division and actually encourages it.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of us are disgusted with politics in general, be it left or right.
Big time.
You know what I mean? I like to believe that the best way has always been the middle ground. Okay? You can't let social issues dominate everything, but that there also has to be some basic practical elements. You know what I mean? Again, I believe, you know, that again, our children and our elderly should be taken care of. A society that cannot take care of its children or its elderly has a deep core problem with it.
And
you know
I definitely believe in universal health care. I think our health care system
I believe in that element too.
Up.
There should not be a framework. Medicine and health should not be monetized.
Yeah.
Just as I believe our justice system should not be monetized. There should not be, and same thing with politics. Listen, you know, here's a simple solution. If you want to fix the political system, outlaw money. If you pull money out of the equation, you would change the whole dynamic. Because most of the players, and I don't care if you're left or right, Democrat or Republican, they make more money than most of the average citizens combined.
Yeah, but people will always try to create some kind of monetary system, in my opinion. Every society out there has always created some kind of monetary system as a representation of trade goods.
Monetary systems are okay, but they also have to be balanced within an honest framework. I mean, again, if you look at it historically, the collapse of every civilization has always been because of the imbalance between the elements of the classes. You know, your French Revolution, your Bolshevik Revolution, you know what I mean, your fall of Egypt, your fall of Rome, they all follow the same narrative time and time and time again. Now, granted, you've had conquerors come and go. You've had, you know, elements that played itself out in Nazi Germany. You had similar elements that have played out in other frameworks in Italy during the same time period. South African apartheid, you know what I mean? There's a many different analogies and examples depending upon what part of the world, and let's be honest too, you know, depending upon where you are, some of those perspectives will vary. You know, if you talk to somebody that lives in Lebanon or Palestine, they don't have the same perspective and framework because they are conditioned by generations of struggle and, you know, really just, you know, complete communication breakdown, you know. And, you know, listen, again, if you look at it historically, you know, the Crusades never ended. You know, the fight between, you know, pseudo-Judo Christianity and the Muslim analogy, you know, goes all the way back. You know, Ash says, you know, she says, anyone who tries to control another's body gets the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome, I would agree with that.
But here's the problem, and again, you know, I sympathize because there are elements that I get with Ash, but I don't see Texas being any better. You know, Texas right now is on the verge of basically telling women, you know, what they can and can't do with their bodies. I don't see how there's a difference. And that's where my problem is that we have these elements on both ends of the spectrum. How can you say a woman is entitled, you know, to make those choices, but on the flip side, say, okay, we're going to mandate you doing this, that, and the other thing. Now, I understand and I agree with some of the elements of the science, but you can't force people to do that if that's not what they believe.
I agree.
You see where I'm going? So there is that, you know, that really fine line that you got to say, well, listen, if you want it one way, you can't have it opposite. That is a hypocrisy. That is a double standard, and I understand why people are bothered by that. You know what I mean? And, you know, listen, again, in this context, I don't think that people getting the shot or not getting the shot is going to make enough of a difference except in the context of personal choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, we already know, and we've already been living it, that this thing is going to mutate. Some people are going to get sick, and some people are going to die. Now, me personally, my personal choice is I've gotten both shots. I don't have an issue with it. My philosophy is I'd rather try and support science to make the difference. And if that means to some degrees I'm a human guinea pig, you know what? So be it. I'm willing to take one for the team, but that's my personal choice.
Yeah.
And I believe that we should respect and at least try and understand other people's choices within that. You don't have to agree, but we need to be able to find that framework of respect. And I'm with Sarah, you know what I mean? I don't like what I'm seeing in that element, okay? I don't have to agree with abortion. I am never going to be in the position where I'll have to make a decision about aborting a child within my body because I'm never going to be pregnant, so I don't have to deal with it. And I don't believe that it is fair.
That'd be pretty interesting.
No, it won't be interesting. We're not going to play that fucking game. Hey, Mike, how you doing, brother? But listen, in a simple honesty, I believe in the rights. I believe in the Second Amendment right. You know what I mean? I believe that if you are of sound mind, okay, that you should be allowed to possess a firearm. But in the same instance, I believe that women have the right to make their choice with their bodies. It is not a context of morality. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. It's not our choice to make. Just as our country was formed on a simple context, freedom of religion. Okay? I don't have to agree or like the fact that you want to be a Scientologist or you want to be a Mormon or you want to be a Muslim. That is the beautiful thing about our country and our democracy, is that freedom of choice. Again, as long as it doesn't impose on other people. So, again, you can find small balances within things. Like, again, I don't have to suck dick to be able to just say, hey, if that's your choice, that's yours. As long as you're not trying to suck my dick, okay? I don't care who's fucking who. I don't want it in politics. I don't want to pay for it, no offense. But also in the same instance, I'm not afraid to say, hey, listen, if that's how you feel, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, you should be allowed the context to be able to get married just like a man and a woman. What is the difference? There is none.
Hi, Tasha. I don't know why you show up as your dad's name either. That's Scott Peeler. That's Tasha. That's her dad's name.
Well, who knows?
I guess you're logged into your dad's account or something for some darn reason, girl.
And Elspeth says it, she can't understand it, and we're supposed to be allowed to believe what we choose. Again, within the basic framework, as long as it doesn't fuck other people up.
I believe. You have
My God is better than your God.
Yeah, you have to believe what I believe.
And listen, and I do sympathize with Ash because I do have a bit of a problem with that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It is a medical choice. You know what I mean? And there are other elements that you can do to stay safe, to stay within at least some context of compromise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is the trade-off. Now, we have a very good friend that is still not even able to walk because of her battle with COVID, okay?
Right.
It is what it is. People are going to get sick. People are going to die. We do what we can to protect each other, protect your families, protect yourselves as best as you can. I believe in science.
Yeah.
That's me personally, okay? I believe, again, in the simple aspect, because we've studied this and we know this, that viruses mutate. And this thing's going to continue to mutate, and this is what happens.
Yep.
So until we can find a better way of approaching that, this is the best we can do.
There's some potential medications that are being tested.
Listen,
right now,
this is technology, this is science, this is progress.
Yes, agreed.
But we did the same thing with polio. We did the same thing, with measles.
Smallpox.
These are the things we have to do as a society.
Exactly.
Now, what I don't subscribe to, and what I don't agree with, is those who throw this, you're entitled to make the medical choice, but you can't use it in the same framework and throw it on the back end of the conspiracy element that it's like some way that they want to chip people.
Yeah, Bill Gates.
Or Bill Gates is trying. No.
If you have a cell phone, you're already
Guess right. If you get a cell phone or a bank account or any number of analogies, you're on the grid. Okay?
Yes.
You have the right to make the choice, but don't try and frame it with bullshit.
Exactly.
Okay, please. Just if you want to believe the earth is flat, that's fine. Go for a drive. And when you fall off the edge, come back and let us know.
Yes, please do. I can prove the earth's not flat. It's my favorite joke. He knows it. If the earth were flat, cats would have already knocked everything off the
Yes, well.
Now, we were talking about like the justice system earlier. You mentioned that certain things that, are
Yes,
are
I do. I have a bit of a bug up my ass, and it's going to be a rant on a later podcast because I have some framework. I'm actually doing some journalistic investigation on this one because I want to get this one right. But long story short, up here in upstate New York in Niagara County, a young man, and it needs to be qualified that he's a young white man from a rich and privileged family.
Yes, young white privileged.
Okay, that pled guilty to at least 4 counts of rape and sexual assault on 4 different young women, and some of them were underage. And the judge, in his infinite wisdom, seemed to feel that this young man didn't deserve to be punished, that somehow that would be a bad thing, and gave this kid probation.
Yeah, no
gave the kid probation for 4 rapes because his family is privileged and has money. And I tell you, people, say whatever you want about politics or crime or this, that, or the other thing, but when we have shit like this that happens, this is what drives most of our disconnect and most of our conflict problems, because it is one of the biggest double standards that there is.
I would be okay with probation and agree with the judge under one circumstance.
To cut his fucking cock and balls off.
Well, I don't even care. He can keep his cock. Just cut his balls off. I'm okay with it. As long as they castrate
now,
him.
Listen,
look, I don't want him peeing off the side. But
all joking aside, it is incredibly disrespectful to the victims, to the women that were violated in this aspect. It is a spit in the face to all the people out there that had been jailed for ridiculously petty crimes, especially
like
in the framework of some of the racial disparities. All right, because let's be honest, young black men have been killed for less.
Yeah.
Okay, killed for less. And yes, call it whatever you want, but truth is true sometimes. This is insanity.
Yeah, it really is.
And we talk about the elements of stuff like cancel, culture.
Yeah.
I say we not only cancel this fucking judge, but we cancel this family. Now, I'm not talking anything, in the context. I am not endorsing nor suggesting violence or anything like that. But in the same aspect that we can all choose not to buy from a particular store because of something they did, or we can choose not to listen to a particular band or musician because of something they did, or a fucking comedian because he says some shit about this, that. We can and we have the right to say that these are not acceptable elements within our communities.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay? There's no context. There's no reality where this. Now, again, I'm not saying that the kid should have his life thrown away. I'm not saying that the kid should be taken out back and shot. But there has to be a better balance, man. There just has to. What does this say to all the young women out there? And more importantly, as a man and as a father, what does this say to men? This is a blank
says it's okay.
check.
Yeah,
this
okay
is,
for you to not treat women with respect.
Yeah. It's bad. It should not be allowed. It needs to be called out.
Yeah.
Now, in the same instance, a lot of people are flipping out about this Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. I don't believe that what he did was right. I believe that he should have suffered some penalty for what he did. However, if you look at the bigger framework, he went down into a chaotic situation with a gun, just like people on the other side. Other people down there had guns, and it turned into chaos. And this is what you have when you have chaotic situations. People get shot and people get killed, okay? And the kid got off because of the aspect of our laws, okay? You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, okay? But there are elements that say if he was a young black man, this would not have played out the same way, all right? And we need to talk openly and honestly about it. Now, this does not say that somebody that is a violent offender, that is a criminal, should get a free pass just because they're black, or they're white, or they're yellow, or they're green, or any of that type of stuff, okay? Yeah. We should be, laws are designed, they're meant to be a system to hold all people accountable equally. And we need to start getting back to that and not looking at it through the lens of either power or through color.
Sarah brings up a good point. Many times we talk about rape victims, but we don't call the men the rapists. You know, oh, well, she's a victim of rape. Yeah, she's a victim of rape. And non-consensual sex. No, that's called rape. You know, we need to
I agree.
Be willing to call men rapists. We shouldn't
sugarcoat it.
No. And teaching men to, hey, you know, it's not about girls, what they wear or what they don't. It's just a simple fact of men don't rape.
Oh, listen, I'm personally, I'm an avid fan of the Girl with the Dragon tattoos approach to it. I think, you know, rapists and predators like that should have that shit carved into their body.
Yes.
As a permanent kind of, women were given the scarlet A just based off of a fucking whiff of supposed sexual impropriety. Let's fucking
make it, you know,
let's, hey, listen, you act like a scumbag, let's make sure that every woman down the pike is going to know that you were a fucking rapist.
Yep.
It's the same analogy, and I loved it in Inglourious Bastards when they marked all the Nazis with the little swastika, so that way after they took their uniforms off and they went home after the war, guess what? You're not going to get away with the fact that you were a fucking Nazi.
Yep.
Okay, you don't get a free pass on that. And that goes back to the earlier things. You can forgive certain things, but I'm sorry, if you're a card-carrying Nazi, fuck you. I got no forgiveness for you. You're a piece of shit. Guess what? That's right. All you fucking right-wing fucking nut, you know what? Let me take that back. All you neo-Nazi, because not all right-wing people are Nazis. And
no.
I need to make sure I'm clear of that, because I have friends that are on the right that are not white supremacists and Nazis, but all you fucking skinhead Nazi, well, you know what? Some skinheads are pretty cool too. See, this is what happens. Every little thing doesn't always necessarily, and I did this on purpose because I wanted to illustrate the framework of words. Just because a person is a skinhead doesn't make them a Nazi. Just because someone is on the right doesn't mean they're a Nazi. But a Nazi is a fucking Nazi. Okay, so if you're a card-carrying fucking Nazi doing that Sieg Heil bullshit thing, fuck you. Okay? Fuck you. I said it.
Yeah, I said it.
But we have to remember that just because certain things have a carryover, and the same analogy is too, just because you see a black person walking down the street doesn't mean they're a rapist, doesn't mean they're a thug, doesn't mean they're a gangster, okay? And just because you see somebody walking down the street with tattoos or maybe riding a motorcycle doesn't mean that they're from, Sons of Anarchy or they're a Hell's Angel.
No, most bikers I know are some of the most giving, caring people. I mean, they do toy runs and charity rides and all that sort of thing, So, yeah.
And listen, and sometimes the double standards go the other way, Sabrina says. She's like, a crack hole can get more help from the state than she can, and she doesn't do drugs. And, yeah, listen, this system is definitely unbalanced. God bless you.
One more time.
Ooh, yeah, you're just gonna keep sneezing it up.
I'm done.
You just can't help yourself.
I couldn't.
You're fucking
sneezing.
You're just a mess.
Says somebody who was sneezing a few minutes earlier.
Yeah, but I did my sneezing before the show.
Oh, okay.
At least I had the good sense.
That's completely under my control.
Way.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I guess this is a great time because the witch is all fucked up. We're gonna segue for some quick music, and then we're gonna come back.
Thank
and
you,
we're going to
Jan.
talk about some more stuff. So stick around. And which one do you want to go with?
Get your topics ready.
Which one do you want me to go with?
I think we're a little angsty, so I think we should definitely go with Suffer the Children.
Ooh, she wants me to crack out. So all right. So with further ado, Suffer the Children. So yeah, that was a little bit of Suffer the Children. David Ort's really powerful animation that he did Caltech some years ago based off of Hansel and Gretel. A couple little things just want to kind of get out of the way. Coming up down the pike, for those of you down in central New Jersey, at the Cavern in Jackson,
Ooh.
Rockin' Pink 5, which is December 11th. It is going to be a charity benefit show, obviously in support of breast cancer. Frank Tonra and the Old Bridge Metal Militia have been doing this show for a number of years, aka this is number 5 over a successive 6 years, I believe now. A friend of mine, Sean Kaiser's band, Metal Life Crisis, a whole bunch of others will be performing again. That'll be December 11th down at the Cavern in Jackson, New Jersey. We also have, coming up in January, at the Stone Pony, January 21st, 2022, Tattoo Tony's Birthday Bash.
And weather permitting, we shall be there.
Yes, we shall be there personally for that one. This is going to have Tony's band, Broken Pass, which myself and the Monkey were part of way back in the day. Tonal Crush, Belt Down Mob, and another friend of mine, Ray Hurley's band, Corvid Corpus, will be performing. Again, that's going to be at the Stone Pony, January 21st, 2022. A lot of people, a lot of music, a lot of fun. Again, weather permitting.
Absolutely.
Tony's been a good friend, brother, of mine now for a few years, and I will put this up here. He's got a couple of different things. He's got the UnderMySkinTattoo.com, which is his tattoo shop. Broken
Amazing
Past,
artist.
which is the
Amazing
band,
talented
and
artist.
the Papo Sticker Company, which Tony does a lot of really great designs for anything from t-shirts, sweatshirts, coffee cups, stickers, you name it.
And he's been doing embroidery lately,
I've been doing embroidery lately as well, too. But no coincidence, we're going to be doing a special month-long through December contest through the podcast and the lives. Basically, it's going to be like a scavenger hunt clue type of thing. The rules will be simple. Won't cost anybody anything. Basically, you'll just have to be a subscriber to YouTube, which is free. Every week, we'll put out a clue during one of your lives.
Yes.
And the first person to email the correct answer, and again, it'll have to be emailed so that we can keep track of it. Every week, you're going to be giving away full readings.
Yes.
And then at the end of the month,
Full Spirit Insights.
Full Spirit Insights. And then at the end of the month, whoever has the most points from all the different scavenger hunts that we do through the month will win a custom sweatshirt from Tattoo Tony with some custom specialized fairy magic kind of artwork. It'll be a one-of-a-kind kind of, little
very special, nice
treasure.
It's not going to be your
not your
mass
cheap
produced.
not your cheap one-off sweatshirt, but an actual custom sweatshirt designed and made by Tattoo Tony Rodriguez it will be based within magic and fairies and stuff like that. It will be personalized, and that will be our grand prize. And again, there'll be no cost to participate. All you'll have to do is be a subscriber on our YouTube channel
and be a scavenger for the clues.
Which is really just, again, a context of hanging out. Again, you don't have to be a paid this or paid that. It's been something that Shiya and I have made it a point to do as much as we can back to the community, and this is one of the ways that we really wanted to approach that was that all you have to do is just come and hang out.
It'd be fun too.
And you listen, you're gonna have to use your brains because we're gonna hide clues to some different types of things. It might be something from literature, it might be something from history, it might be something from music, it might be something from pop culture. It's gonna be a kind of wacky lady Shiya, old wolf, Jeopardy, interdimensional cable, Twilight Zone from hell kind of thing. But again, just a little something for people to interact with, have some fun, and like I said, give away, some readings, and, at the end, give away a really beautiful custom sweatshirt that, somebody can, stay snugly warm in and show off, and people will be like, wow, where'd you fucking get that? And you'd be like, haha, not for you. You ain't never gonna get one of these because it's one of a kind.
You got
one of a kind.
Yes, one of a kind.
So again, back to our fireside chat. Thank you, May and Monica, Sabrina, everybody, Becca, Jan. That's everybody that's been coming out and supporting us. We truly do appreciate it.
Yes. So what else going on in the world?
What's going on out there?
And we're ranting about the justice system.
Yes, we had an interesting conversation before about choices within aspects of our rights versus societal structures and constructs. And
I think we're coming up into a season of Thanksgiving. I think looking at manifestation and walking about with like a how do you get your life out of the blahs and into the betters? Let's talk about that. That's a good topic.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Sarah. Sarah's like she had a horrendous doctor's appointment today. Well, listen, I mean, again, sometimes, and I know just, again, for myself, what works for me is consciously trying to find, even in the shittiest of situations, some framework of humor, some framework to twist, redirect that element. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'll use an analogy. I don't like doctors and stuff. I got to go to the doctor. The doctor goes in. He's like, guess what? I'm going to have to bend you over, and, I'm going to have to stick that gloved finger in your ass, and I'm not that guy, okay? I really don't appreciate this type of attention and stuff. But, so I try and put a spin in it. And I'm like, well, you going to give me your phone number afterwards? You're going to give me cab money? You know what I mean?
I'm sure the doctors have heard it
sometimes the
all.
only thing we can do is we can take a bad situation and try and put some fucked up type of spin on it, if nothing else, to protect our sanity. I have found, at least in the simplest of analogy, it helps. Does it make it go away? No. Does it completely change it? Obviously not.
No, but it helps deflect.
But sometimes, listen, it's the lesser of two evils. You know what I mean? It's like eating an entire shit sandwich or only having to take one bite. Yes, it's still shit, but it's a lot less.
Well, it's like I've told you some of my analogies is that when I'm hurting or feeling bad, I go through things where I'm trying to focus on the things that I'm grateful for. Or, some of the things you were doing.
That was a great one as well, too, when we can, again, switch the dynamic, refocus, or somehow overlay the element of gratitude.
That's always
You know
a
what
good
I
thing,
mean? Well, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be late for work. But I'm grateful that the moon isn't crashing into the planet today. Now, granted, that's a little bit off the ball, but, again...
Well,
again, that's my humor.
A day above ground is any good day.
Yes, a day above...
Ash says, should I bring them a candy bar next time or flowers and say it makes it a bit more like a date night?
There you go. Ash has got it.
That's it. That's that great humor right there.
And May says it. Yes, 80s stand-up comedy did not give a fuck. Everybody was insulted equally. We could laugh at some of the elements that separated us, but it also allowed us to better understand it. You know what I mean? And again, say what you want. Context means something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It really does. A word, depending upon how it's used, has many different meanings. And we joke about this, and we've talked about this many times, but fuck is one of those words that is just so multi-purpose.
It is.
You can use it in anger and lust and love and humor. Fuck, fuckity, fuck.
Fuck.
And every time it's going to have a different application and a different meaning. But it's still fuck. So context is a real thing.
Yes.
And humor, again, allows us to at least deflect some of the uglier, nastier, more dangerous, in my opinion,
and sometimes
elements.
It can be a really cathartic release as well, just to holler out, fuck. I know one time I was over at Elspeth's house. And I think I've told you this story, but others will appreciate it too. And one of our friends was there, and she had a really bad day with her car breaking down and everything else. So it's like she's kind of having an issue. So I'm like, let's go out by the fire pit. We have Elspeth and her husband and stuff up top, and we would go down by the fire pit, and we just have that big old loud cathartic scream. And apparently we freaked the hell out of Elspeth and her husband. They're like, what the hell? Oh, and Elspeth's like, oh, they're just doing releases. It's fine.
Hey, listen, whatever works. Now again, there's always that fine line. Just because it's an analogy to you that maybe per se works. Mm-hmm. And I'll use the Louis C.K. analogy, a.k.a. that doesn't mean that you can just pull your cock out whenever you want.
No.
Okay? So yes, there has to be the balance line. It doesn't mean that you get to just do whatever the fuck you want, whatever the fuck. But that goes back to May's analogy. This is part of the comedy element of it, that we can kind of flip around certain things. We can change the dynamic. And wow, I just got Becca all right, well.
Oh, we got a book here.
Here we go.
All right.
It's Becca time.
So let's see what Becca
All right,
has.
she says, I've been waiting to tell you this for a long time, but on April 1st, 2019, I almost died in an ambulance ride because of an OD of medications like Sudafed, Robitussin, NyQuil, nothing narcotic and alcohol, but went out for like 2 minutes. And when I did, I saw my grandma, my mom, and my grandpa, my cousin, but he's still alive, which I don't know why I saw him. But anyways, there was a rainbow over them and a bright blue sky behind them with clouds. What did that mean? I've always wanted to know what I saw, that I've just been too scared to ask. Well, I'm glad that you're okay. And I'm sorry that you felt too scared to ask, but since you've asked, then we're going to have a conversation about it.
Absolutely. So NDEs, near-death experiences. Everybody has a different version of it, but it's not an uncommon thing. That's actually to have near-death experience memories and frame it out in different things.
In one application, there is one context. There's also a context to be made just from a purely science end of it, especially when you're talking about the elements that are in medications like Sudafed and NyQuil and stuff like that, that those chemical interactions can create hallucinogenic type effects. Now, when you combine those elements, our minds, our subconscious, will translate certain elements of things. And that's how we will perceive it. And that perception is unique. It's based on our experiences. It's based on us as people in the moment. Now, there's a good case to be made, knowing Becca, again, to a little bit of a degree, and some of her elements and stuff, that it probably was more framed to, as you're describing, that experience end of it, because she's more naturally in tune with it. So I think in many ways that was almost like a defensive trigger. And that's what happens. That's usually what they are. The defensive triggers to protect our psyche, again, from the element of a, again, traumatic experience, aka almost dying in the ambulance.
Now, Becca mentioned that you had your cousin that was still alive that actually appeared to you too. What you're talking about are strong elements in your life. You have here a grandmother, a mother, and another grandma, or is it grandpa, and your cousin, that were all there and in support of you. Your subconscious / your empathic self / your near-death experience combined, and I believe that just going on feel that it's a little bit of all of the above. We're finding elements of strength within and strength from your ancestral line as well to be able to fight back and stay on this plane because it wasn't your time.
And it's also the obvious connection within the elements of the things, aka family, that you were tied to. You know, and these are common elements that we all share. These are the bonds that kind of interconnect us all. This is the framework of how most of us live. We are born to parents. We're part of family structures, and those family structures build and grow, not unlike the roots of a tree. They branch out, etc., etc. So these connections, again, make up the framework of our experience, of our memories. So when you go outside the box, aka in a combination of a chemical / physical element, aka, an almost death experience, you have a lot of new elements now that are triggered in that moment. And they're unique. They're unique to the individual. Some people talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. Some people talk about darkness. Some people talk about floating out over their body, which is, again, it's just another variation on astral projection. But they're all within the same spectrum that when we shift the dynamic, be it chemically through drugs, and it doesn't matter, what the drugs are, or within extreme shifts in our environment, aka oxygen deprivation, or it's the same analogy with the isolation tanks, where you cut yourself off from all stimuli. Within a certain amount of time, your brain chemistry will start to shift and you will hallucinate. It's the same analogy with the old sweat lodge rituals. There are many variations within many cultures over many, many lifetimes and generations, but they're all within, again, that same spectrum of experience outside the normal scope of what we touch, what we smell, what we feel, what we taste.
Even my mom had a near-death experience when she had a heart attack in early 2019. She had a near-death experience, and where she kind of talked to some people who had gone across the veil already, and she told them, hey, I love you guys, but I've got people counting on me. I can't join you yet, and fought her way back.
Listen, there's too many examples of it throughout history in too many cultures over too large of a swath of time to discount it as just being nothing. To tell you 100% what it means is impossible, because again, it is unique to the individual, A, and B, these are elements that are really outside our true understanding. We have ideas, we have concepts, we have theories, we have assumptions.
Nobody can prove anything.
But there isn't a lot of framework, again, to really tangibly establish this is that or this is the other thing. I would humbly suggest, A, you've talked about it now, so there's no reason to feel scared about it. And whatever it speaks to you, whatever element it gives you, and again, I would only footnote this with as long as you frame it in a positive aspect, take the positive from it. Okay? AKA, in the simplest analogy, you're here, you're alive to tell the story now. That's a beautiful element right within itself. That,
you were tapping into things that would give you strength to fight, And she says, this is what I saw and what I remember. I always thought I would see God or heaven, but I didn't. I also saw neon hearts right before they said, welcome back. Again, our brain picks the imagery that works for us, that we need to see when we are working with spirit, when we're working with our internal selves to try to come back.
Or it could have been you, or saying, hey, listen, you don't want to check out, go back.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've actually talked to anybody who's seen God. I think some people have claimed to have seen a divine source or talked to something that they perceived as divine when they were in
Bob,
an
the
NDE.
homeless guy down around the God.
That's called Skip.
He talks to God every day.
Yeah, and then the son of Sam talked to
and God is usually more talkative after about a pint or two of some.
I'm sure.
Some low end crush, but that's just Bob.
Actually, I don't remember what I saw when I died, or near died on the table, but I was annoyed by the pain of the docs bringing me back. That I remember a lot. Yeah, I've been outside of my body, and I've had my own near-death experience once, and it was a very personal, transformative experience, and I haven't really ever talked to anybody about it personally, actually. So, it's just one of those things. That everybody sees something a little differently. There's books on it in these.
Listen, there's a lot of stuff historically, literature-wise, from many different elements throughout history that speaks to different things. Sarah says it really great. Her mother, who is batshit crazy, by the way, and these are Sarah's words. My mother, who is batshit crazy, swears she met and talked to God when she died.
Sarah, your mom is batshit crazy. I know your mom.
And for the record, Sarah says, for the record, her meeting God is one of the least crazy things she said. Well,
I would agree with that.
Let's chalk one up for Sarah's mother.
But then again,
hold on, everybody.
Yay, golf clap. But no, Sarah's mom. I think your mom thinks she talks to God every frickin' day. So I don't know. Your mom can be an interesting person.
Hey, Becca, it's all about context and perspective sometimes. You say you're glad you saw your family, but you thought it'd be much cooler. Well, here's the flip side. At least it wasn't like Dante's Inferno.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Now, remember that movie Flatliners? They did a whole movie on this concept of trying to go across and get that NDE and come back kind of thing.
Right. Listen, sometimes, again, our expectations, we want the full trumpets and angels and, who the fuck knows what it really is.
Expectations. We're taught on a cultural level to have certain expectations on what death should be. And
see, I'm looking, I'd love to get behind the whole Valhalla thing and, just be like in a big hall drinking, eating, and fucking for the rest of eternity. But hey, that's just me.
I mean, Valhalla is pretty awesome, but I don't see you walking around with a weapon in your hand 24/7 either.
Well, I mean, I have to die. I have to die with my weapon too.
You have to die with your weapon in your hand in order to go to Valhalla. Otherwise, you're in hell.
Well, I mean, again, these are all little details.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Every god's got his,
It's so funny.
His terms and conditions, his or her terms and conditions.
The concept of hell was stolen from the Vikings. It's not a Christian concept.
I think the concept of hell has always been just kind of this compensating framework for,
enforced morality.
Well, to some degrees, but, in believing that there was some type of, cosmic retribution for bullshit. You know what I mean?
Ash,
you know what I mean? So we had to create some framework to give it all, at least some semblance.
Ash Buck, oh my God, how did they not fire her? And yes, my birthday is April 1st. Ash Buck says, I worked with a lady that yelled at and scolded God every day and spent hours of her day screaming at the sky. I can't imagine why they didn't fight. I hope she wasn't doing this at work.
Well, listen, Joan of Arc, led an army and then eventually, died for her conversations with God.
Yeah. But
you know what I mean?
Listen,
for all intents and purposes, you can make the same case for Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That he went out there, he was pitching the whole Son of God thing, and I'm here to forgive you and your sins and all that, and they were like, oh, really? Cool. Let's nail you to a cross. Let's see how you do.
Actually, what's funny is he never once claimed to be the Son of God.
Well, again, that's a little caveatic fine point, but within his teachings, he does speak within the narrative of that. But, again, context being what it is, we really don't know to what degree how much of this translation were actually his words versus the interpretation of his apostles.
Right.
We do know for a fact that there was a whole nother gospel from Mary Magdalene that for whatever reason, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, was excluded by the powers that be. Coincidentally, it happened to be all male dominated and driven.
Course, we can't have women thinking for shame.
But there's a lot of elements that say that we've only gotten a very small piece of that picture, and that picture has been now framed to represent, at least within Western culture, what the Boondocks refer to as the white Jesus. Hi,
oh my God.
My name is Ronald Reagan, and I'm here to endorse white Jesus.
White Jesus. What show was that on?
That's the Boondocks.
That wasn't
fucking great shot at the whole,
Well, I talked to Lilith too, Becca.
Cultural appropriation. Because listen, again, if we're going to have an honest conversation about Jesus as a man, I don't know what anybody was thinking in their context, but at that time period, and that section of the world, Jesus was not blue-eyed with blonde hair or any of that shit. According to the word, he had hair like a sheep.
Yes.
Like a sheep's wool.
So curly, kinky.
Who does that sound? Hair. I mean, again, that doesn't sound like an African American. I'm going to be honest. At
least, I'm just going to go.
But here's the thing:
he was Jewish.
Why
he's going to definitely have a dark brown to him.
But there's a case to be made from that section of the world. But why should it matter? Why would it matter if the Son of God, if he is the Son of God, if he was black or white?
Because it would take away white entitlement.
Well, yes, so that, of course, that goes right out the door.
We couldn't, as white people, claim that Jesus is ours. We'd actually have to show compassion to people of other color skin.
Really?
Yeah.
That means we actually have to have tolerance?
Oh my God!
Do we have to have to love our neighbors?
No, it's almost like he said something like that or some shit. I don't know.
Hold on, whoa. Does that mean I can't fuck my neighbor's wife anymore?
Yeah, you're not supposed to cover your neighbor's wife.
I can't kill my neighbor and take his shit?
No, you're not supposed to be able to do that either. Man. You're actually supposed to love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah, Becca says he had long ass hair and was a hippie. That's a great analogy.
Yes,
absolutely. I mean, listen,
he was a revolutionary. He hung out with the undesirables. He had a tax collector as one of his disciples. He hung out with
I love the analogies of him throwing the money lenders out of the temple. Hanging out with lepers and whores, I mean that's my kind of guy.
He was not the capitalist, guys. He was like, no, you're not going to turn around and make a mockery of this temple.
And what did they do? They just did that. They built a bigger temple to mock him.
Yeah, Ash, I like American Gods.
I like South Park's.
See American Gods.
I like South Park's explanation with the whole Pope and the hat and the rabbit.
I didn't see that part.
Oh yeah.
What is it?
Well, the whole context of the Pope and stuff like that actually started. Jesus left the church, the kingdom, the heaven, in the hands of a rabbit.
Okay, Peter the rabbit?
Right.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So now all the popes have hats with rabbit ears?
Right. But they try and get over and they try and fuck Jesus and they kill him, but he comes back again and fucks them up with AKs and, you know.
Okay, that definitely sounds...
South Park Jesus is definitely...
Actually, if you want a really good heretical book, the book The Lamb, it's the Gospel of Christ according to Biff, Christ's childhood's best friend. It is the most irreverent thing you will ever hear in your life. It is...
I mean, if we're going to go that route, I'm going to take Life of Brian every day of the week.
Life of Brian?
Oh, not the Messiah!
I like Dogma.
Oh, Dogma's great.
The best.
But that isn't so much a framework on Jesus as a kind of a framework on the church and dogmatic element,
right.
And the whole conceptual element. Is God a man, a woman, or is this more of an asexual context? Me personally, I thought it was great. Alanis Morissette as God.
Yes, at the very end.
I could get with that, just like I could get behind Morgan Freeman as God. I could live with that. I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that too. Ash, yes, the whore chapter is freaking hilarious. Well, I can't sin, so Biff, you have to do it for me and tell me what it's like.
Well then.
It's great. That's from that book, The Lamb. It's hilarious.
Okay.
There's a whole chapter on whores.
Ashley Hart, how you doing, hon?
Hey, Ashley Hart. So, yeah, sorry about that earlier. We kind of forgot to take the microphone off of mute. She's like, I was on and there was no sound.
Yeah. Technical snafus with trying to run all the different technologies between OBS and everything.
It's not
what it really just talks up to is fucking Shiya had me distracted, and once again, I just didn't click the goddamn button.
It's on me.
Because you are who you are, all right?
Okay.
You just...
So it's just naturally going to be my fault, no matter what.
It's all your fault.
All right, whatever. I'm going to tell a corny joke now.
Oh, God.
I think I'm
Lord Jesus, help
Every time you blame me for something that's not my fault, I get to tell a corny joke.
Which Pulp Fiction? I mean, Samuel Jackson.
Yes.
I definitely think... Say what, motherfucker?
There's too many motherfucking angels in this motherfucking heaven. Y'all get down and start doing some motherfucking shit.
Yeah, I could go for Samuel Jackson. I mean, listen, if Samuel Jackson was God, we would definitely not be living in the world we're living in now. Because let me tell you, he would be going fucking Old Testament. It would be on like fucking Donkey Kong.
I'm gonna smite these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Watch me smite some motherfuckers.
Go the fuck to
Hey,
sleep.
Mark, how you doing, brother?
Hello, Mark.
Listen, I mean, again, within the framework of comedy / pop culture, you know what I mean. These are just the little spins and twists that we put to kind of again put a face on things that we really just can't explain.
Yeah.
And listen, I've seen people lose their shit as soon as you cross that thing. Oh, you're sacrilegious, you heretic. You know what I mean? Say, okay, hey, listen.
You can say every cuss word in the world except for goddamn.
I always like to just take that extra step back. I am not so arrogant of an asshole. But listen, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not trying to begrudge your faith. I'm not trying to be an asshole about it. I'm just trying to put a little bit of comedic spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, if you want to have an honest conversation and take a look at how, pseudo-Judeo-Christianity. I will flame these words one way or the other. One day I'll learn how to speak. But anyway, that element, Christianity, again, you look at it historically, was framed from Egyptian culture. And this is an historic element that the ruling element, a.k.a. the Egyptian hierarchy, you had the Jewish slaves that when they finally did separate themselves, they took elements of that culture.
Once upon a time, there was a god named Osiris, and he gave his life for his people, and the goddess Isis got him and raised him back up through the Nile.
Well, I mean, Horus had 13 apostles. I mean, come on. Come on. You know what I mean? And listen, that's okay. That's the face that you want to put on it. That's your belief. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But please, just don't bring it down upon the rest of us. AKA, I have an easier time with some versus others. You come cracking out at me with Scientology, I'm not as comfortable. And that's only because they just seem to always want to fucking sue people for money.
How about temple underwear from the Mormons?
Oh, well, don't get me started on the Mormons.
Magical underwear.
Listen, again, I'm sorry. I have a problem with any conceptual element, be it religion or philosophy, that is based from a fucking crazy man that gets driven out of his fucking village for being a child molester, and then comes up with a pseudo-Christianity version that basically says Jesus showed up in the woods and said, hey, it's okay to have slaves, white people are the chosen ones, and by the way, yeah, it's okay not only to fuck children, but you can have as many wives as you want.
But you can only read this with
But you have to wear the magic underwear while you're doing it.
You have to wear the magic underwear, but you can only read all of this on the golden tablets with the magic glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Magic glasses, very important. Is this like the 3D glasses you get in the theater? I wonder if I can have some.
Nah, what a maroon! I'm sorry, me personally, you're just only a couple of steps away from Jim Jones and the fucking Kool-Aid of death. Okay.
Honestly,
Sabrina, I'm 100% with you. We were talking about that earlier. I think that that some of the truer elements of the gospel were probably within Mary Magdalene's gospels. For all intents and purposes, everything that we know historically, she was closer to him. She may have actually been his wife.
Yes.
Okay. And I think, again, if we're going to have the honest conversation, we already know, because within the framework of our species, men tend to be stronger.
Yes.
Okay, so there's been this kind of role element, and some of it obviously has been a cultural conditioning control mechanism, aka somebody has to be the alpha and somebody's not. Is it fair? Is it right? No. We have to evolve. Men, sorry, those days are over, man.
I agree.
And listen, let's really be honest, they weren't really as good as people were talking about. Most of it's bullshit, and it's kind of fantasy and a little bit of, twisted denial and reality. But again, as a man and as a father, this is not the framework we want to set. This is not what we want to teach our sons, and this is not what we want to say to our mothers and our sisters and our daughters. It's just not.
Mutual respect. But I believe in spirituality versus religion. The way I always put religion is exclusive. Is somebody excluding everybody else. Like you said, my God is better than your God.
My dick is better than yours.
Yeah, well, it is, because I don't have one. But
see, by default, that means I'm right, and my God rules. You lose.
Yeah,
ding, 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 ding.
No, that's not how that works. That's not how any of this works. But spirituality...
But God told me.
Well, that's nice. Spirituality is inclusive, whereas religion is exclusive. So I definitely believe more of a spiritual aspect of being able to include everybody's views. And if you want to believe in magical underwear, and as long as you're not molesting children, have fun with your magical underwear, okay?
Well...
That's kind of what I'm going with. But don't expect me to wear magical underwear. If I'm going to wear magical underwear, it's going to be...
And we surely cannot structure policy, cultural or societal policy, based off of one end of the spectrum. AKA, you can't say in a country that was formed on the base concept of freedom of religion that somehow this religion is the only religion.
No, it's not. This religion is better than that.
It's bullshit.
Yes.
Now again, and Mark hits it right there, if you take the analogy from 12-step programs, emphasize the spiritual awakening, God in whatever framework and context, how you choose to perceive he or she, but also in the same analogy, the context of what do we do with that element. You see where I'm going? It's okay to believe within a concept, to believe within an ideology, even if it's dogmatic or not. It's what we do with it. And Mark, would again, using the 12-step analogy, you take a drunken horse thief and you get him sober. What do you got? You got a fucking sober horse thief. The underlying elements of what we do is the purest reflection of free will, of the choices we make, cognitive or otherwise. You can always make the case, well, I didn't have a choice. Well,
bullshit. You always have a choice.
Well, no, listen, again, you talk to...
Take or death. That's
listen,
no
you
choice.
talk to a combat veteran who just came out of a hot zone. Yeah, sometimes there are shitty contexts of choices that we are forced to make for our own survival, for the defense,
in that case,
for the people we love and care about. So, You know what I mean? There are obviously those pseudo gray areas, but in the same instance, I don't believe that any religion or philosophy has the right to tell people you can't love this person or what you should do with your body.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's, in my opinion, well beyond the scope. And again, if we're going to have it in the framework of the conversation about our culture, our society. That's not, again, to begrudge or say your culture is less than or your society is less than. I don't personally agree with some elements, especially some of the more abstract and, you know, kind of dysfunctional ones. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to point fingers to, you know, any place like Pakistan or North Korea or any of those places.
No finger pointing.
Whoops, did I say it?
Oh,
well,
gosh.
anyway. But in the same instance, you know what I mean? There has to be a framework of at least a basic acceptance, a basic tolerance. Again, because that is the framework within at least the United States, okay, our democracy. Granted, you know, if we're going to take the conversation 2 steps further, it was definitely laid on the blood and bones of the natives that were here, that we just basically fucking,
smallpox blankets,
walked over and just said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Were you here first?
You don't believe in my God, so therefore you don't count."
Yeah, see, that type of shit I have zero tolerance for. That Sabrina says she was brought up in a UPC church, made her believe she was put here to obey her husband or the man I'm with. I've seen that in some of the more extreme elements within Muslim cultures as well too.
Baptist.
There's definitely listen. There's a framework of it within Roman Catholic elements. I know as a child I saw that framework reinforced from my grandfather and my father. So I definitely don't think it's exclusive to any one religion per se. And yeah, there is, in my mind, a problem with that.
As exclusionary.
Well, it's a control mechanism. I mean, Sabrina says it perfectly for what it is. Here to obey her husband.
I think
that's a control mechanism.
It's a control thing. Yeah, absolutely. I believe in partnership. The army we salute to are the ones who are taking our freedom away without knowing. I don't necessarily agree with that. I have a lot of friends and stuff that are in the armed forces, and I have all the respect for them. In general, they're trying to help and protect our country. Now, do you have some divisive elements in just about every subculture out there? Absolutely. You have your good and your bad everywhere.
Yeah, and you know, in fairness, again, we don't have to agree with the elements of war. We don't have to agree with the elements of how many of our policies and institutions work. My grandfather also was in World War II. I had uncles who were in Korea and Vietnam as well too. I have friends who were in Iraq and Afghanistan. You can't, in my opinion, fault soldiers, men and women, for, to the best of their ability, trying to honor a concept. And that framework is about, obviously, patriotism, support, but it also has a framework within the old world concepts of honor and duty, defense. You know, we live in a world, unfortunately, that is not exactly pretty, that isn't exactly friendly. And I don't think it's realistic to talk about societal elements in a global aspect and think that you can exist without having elements of an army or all this. And you're right, a lot of times they're fighting for something they don't know what they're fighting for or they don't believe in. But the most of them, the overwhelming majority, are there for a pure concept. They're there to support their country. They're there to support the elements of their families, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers. You know what I mean? And I believe that we owe them better. We should respect them. We need to do better by them. But there should be a better accountability as well, too. Because we shouldn't, you know, listen, I'm not
let's look at the ones that are calling the shots. You know, what are the motivations? Like, I fully believe in term limits. You know, we should definitely limit the terms of these lifers that are in Congress, that are in the House, that are being influenced constantly by the PAC groups.
A little bit
like
off the context,
yeah.
but yes.
Well, we're talking about any kind of corruption in the armed forces. You got to look, you know, shit rolls downhill. The soldier on the ground, they're just following
and Shauna
rules.
says, listen, I know a lot of guys that came back, they killed innocent people. And but they also defended innocent people as well, too. So there is a flip side. There is a context that, you know, it's not a simple analogy.
Until we're in that situation. Really
yeah,
know,
it is a tough one.
It's really easy to point fingers, especially when you don't know the exact situation.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're put through, is it my life and my buddies' lives worth putting on the line for this situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. Interesting point. IDM7 says, do you think it's possible that third wave feminism tricked women into hating men? I'm not sure what the analogy of third wave feminism means exactly. However, I think there's a case, and I think a lot of men feel this way, right or wrong, that certain elements of feminism, quote unquote, did have some kind of
man-hating.
Well, listen, there was some flashback on it.
Down with the patriarchy.
But that's a pendulum swing. That's a good analogy. Woman, I can speak on this because I consider myself a feminist. But speaking as a woman, I can say that there's a lot of feminists out there that hate men because of the level of oppression and unfairness and stuff like that. I personally believe that a true feminist wants the divine masculine. They want an awakened male. They still want an alpha male, but they want an awakened alpha male, somebody who is self-aware, who's respectful of themselves and respectful of the quality of women. And that's what a true feminist wants, is equality, not to erase the role of women, not to erase the role of men, but to find a comfortable balance. But yeah, there's a lot of women that have gone completely pendulum swing, like fuck men and fuck everything that they represent, down with the patriarchy. Like
well, yeah, to some degrees it is, I think, a reaction to generations of dysfunctionality and stuff. And I think a lot of men, especially men that try to live and do live within frameworks of honor and respect, and they're not scumbags and they're not assholes. So what ends up happening is we keep running into these elements that unfortunately are the collateral damage from, again, generations of scumbags and, you know, other shitty guys that have just laid the stage beforehand. And like you said, great analogy, it is a pendulum swinging back, because in many ways that compensation element, I think, has to play out.
The anger.
Anger is a great analogy, right?
The oppressed always typically have that pendulum swing of anger and bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, especially when a lot of it comes from so high up that there's not a lot that can be done.
Yeah.
Well, some of it is, I think, again, what can be done is the leading by example. We have to call the shit out where we see it. And that really should go both ways. Yeah. You know what I mean? It really should go both ways. Toxic behavior should not be tolerated, regardless if it's from a man or a woman or, you know, fucking gender neutral or whatever the case may be.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? There is simple baselines that I think that we can all agree on in just, you know, basic respect.
Well, you think we could all agree on. There's some people that just still, you know, it's my way or you know, my way, my God's better than yours. Going right back to that, you know.
But I mean, again, just, you know, in the same analogy, listen, I think it's no different. Same analogy. You shouldn't just hate a person because of their color of the skin. You shouldn't just hate a person because of their gender.
Agreed.
So all men should not have to pay the price for every other fucking scumbag that came before them. Granted, that's what ends up happening. The same analogy, whereas innocent black people pay the price and innocent women pay the price.
Yes.
Innocent people in general, and that's really the base analogy.
Which we have to
innocent
learn.
People in general suffer. Bad things happen to good people.
Yes, and I think the core of it is we all have to learn that basic element of core respect. Respect for another person's rights, a respect for another person's right to exist, to choose things for themselves, so long as it is not impinging on other people. Your rights end at my nose.
I would take that even a step further to some degrees, depending on the person and the situation, saying that, you know, if you see it happening to somebody and you're not the one, you know, say, doing it, but you see it still happening, like we kind of said before, say something.
Yes.
Stick up for it. If
Yeah.
you believe it's wrong, don't just sit there and watch. Don't
No.
just sit there and
I will
report it.
absolutely agree with that, and that is
big time.
definitely one of the bigger problems that we have is the apathy.
I
Yes.
think that
In
is-
general.
I think that is one of the largest contributing factors, especially for so long there was nothing anybody could do, but now there's a lot that a lot of us can do.
Well,
Yeah.
they actually have a term for that. That's the silent majority. So many of these atrocities and problems and everything go through because the majority of us, we have been conditioned, we have been trained into silence. You know, don't talk about it. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't talk about problems within the family. Don't talk about pedophiles. Don't talk about inequality. Let's not talk about it. Let's not have the conversation.
I mean, some of it has been streamlined into almost, well, let's be blunt, it has been streamlined into aspects of entertainment. Now,
Yes.
with the whole reality concept aspect, and you see it. I mean, go on YouTube, go on Reddit, any day of the week, and you can find thousands of videos with people with their phones out videoing the most insanely horrendous elements
It's
going down in real time, but they're all standing around recording it and watching it. But if you happen to notice, nobody's
does a damn
fucking
thing.
doing anything. Nobody's stopping the element. Nobody is intervening, saying, hey, this is fucked up.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, maybe, we should do something, But,
Get
and
your
it's,
camera out. That's
Yep.
fine.
Right.
I have no issue with that. But
May
fucking
says
say
it.
something
People
while
think
you're
they
doing
are a
it.
freaking camp. Now, listen, certain things, I absolutely agree. Document it. But listen, if you're given the choice between actually making a difference or getting it on camera, make a
Step up.
fucking difference.
Yep.
You know, there's an interesting point, though. I actually saw a streamer recently make this point on his one of his videos, and to counterpoint this same thing, because he always plays devil's advocate, which I think is healthy for critical thinking. There was a scenario that he was involved in where he saw this dude wail on this woman, like he hit her harder than he's ever seen a dude hit somebody.
Wow.
And immediately him and two other people jumped in to stop what was happening, right? Within a moment later, the woman had pulled out a knife and had not only stabbed the initial dude that had hit her, but also one of the people that jumped in to help.
Well, listen, bad things tend to, unfortunately,
But that
No good deed goes
compound,
unpunished.
and
sometimes.
collateral damage is collateral damage. But, at least in my opinion,
But when you take this scenario into thought, how many people are going to risk their own well-being for someone they've never met, will never meet again, and have no connection to?
well, you're right, and that speaks to the element of fear that we have, that people are afraid, they're apathetic.
Yeah.
My personal philosophy for me is I'd rather be wrong for the right reasons, you know what I mean? And again, I'm, I guess, blessed in that element of having lived that way, and it's kind of, again, a philosophy that guides me. But you're absolutely right. We are conditioned and trained into, unfortunately, not wanting to get involved. Sabrina says, people are scared to say anything because of the cops or the courts or perception. And that's just like everybody gets strapped. And that's again, we're only 2 chapters away from the purge at that particular point.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. I believe in the Second Amendment. You know what I mean? However, I don't believe that everybody is entitled to that right within the Second Amendment, especially if you're a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Or if you were obviously mentally unstable
Yeah, let's
to the
not
degree
get
that,
somebody
listen, if you
unsound
can't be
again.
trusted to make a peanut butter sandwich, you got no business with a fucking gun.
A fucking man. So, wow, Becca. Have no idea how many times I almost got shot by a 357 just coming home at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's some real shit, unfortunately.
So, I mean, it's all very contextual. It's easier for us to armchair quarterback and say we shoulda, coulda, woulda. But the whole thing is, you know, if it is safe for you to do so, then say something. Get involved. Do something other than just frickin' record it. But if you can't, then record it and then get it to the authorities. You know, maybe get all the information you can.
Do what you can where you can. I mean, again, I'm the guy. I'm the fucking stupid wolf. I'm going to run into the burning building. That will be on my tombstone. He was an idiot, but he died well. And it'll probably be in Klingon. It'll be like, it was a good day for him to die.
It was a good day to die. And he died with his weapon in his hands, and he is now in Valhalla, drinking and fucking.
Get out of my head.
Huh?
Yeah.
Out of my head.
Well, we were talking
Yes.
about that earlier.
Yes, I shall feast with...
I die. I live again.
Valhalla! So, yeah. I mean, that's a context.
But I mean, again, listen. Everything is about those choices, those little variances in the moment, you know, this versus that, yin versus yang.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always easy. You know, sometimes, again, it's a lesser of two evils. And, you know, listen, we're not perfect. I like to believe, if nothing else, this is how we evolve. This is how we learn. This is how we adapt. This is how we grow. You know what I mean? So we can have conversations like this, where we can explore these elements, we can discuss it, we can listen to each other. You know what I mean? Again, we don't have to agree with everything, we don't have to like every element.
What it comes down to is we don't always know
but
what
we
we
can
would do
respect
until we're
that
in
element that, hey,
Yeah.
you know, we all bring a different aspect to the table. And speaking of Lay, we have your wedding song playing in the background actually tonight.
There you go.
That's what's playing in the background tonight.
Yeah.
Well, you know, again, no coincidence. And she says, Derek and I helped the girl she works with get away from an abusive relationship. She left everything, went to the airport at 3 a.m., and that was 2 years ago, and she's with a great guy with a new baby. See, now that's
amazing.
beautiful. That's a success story, and
Yes.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. When we can make little elements, it can change the dynamic. And maybe nothing changed per se for Derek and her, but it completely changed not only that girl's life, but changed the elements for that new baby. You know, and think about that, you know, just in its impactful scale. It didn't really shift a lot, again, for Lee or Derek, but it was monumental. I mean, it was a huge dynamic shift for not only that woman, but her next generation. I mean, that type of cause and effect, that's the most, I mean, that's the most positive, helpful, and hopeful argument that you can make. Well, you know, you had a good heart to begin with but yeah, it changed your heart. All right, I'll give you that.
And it puts definitely some good energy and good karma out for yourself.
But it's a great example. This is leading by example.
Yes.
This is the dynamic and element.
What you can do. What you can't do.
You know, I'm sure you guys didn't get a reward for it, and there was really nothing in it besides doing the right thing. I mean, I know you and Derek to the degree that, yeah, that was a reflection of your character.
Definitely. And that's the kind of person you are. So, and it's a beautiful thing, Jamie, and that's something you can look back at and always feel good about, and always
that's a great story. That's a great example of that analogy that, you know, we can make a difference. We can strengthen numbers.
Yep.
You know, the little things that we do, it carries.
Yep. And just even something simple like, you know, you see somebody that needs a smile, taking a moment to lock eyes and smile, or tell them, you know, hey, you look good today, you know, even though you don't know somebody.
I always try to give out
compliments.
One non-flirtatious compliment every time I see somebody.
That's neat. I like it. So, I mean, anything you can do that brings up the energy of the world, that shows your light to other people. And you never know, that one thing that you said to that one person could have kept them from a major depressive episode and bad decisions in their life, you know?
Listen, we never know to the degrees, there are ripples on the water. They will spread out and impact upon other things, and upon other things, the butterfly wings. Again, whatever analogy
kindness
you
is
want
a beautiful
to
thing.
throw out there,
May has a good question.
So we got a final question for the evening from May. As an empath, how do you recognize feelings that aren't genuinely your own? And how do you get rid of unwanted feelings or thoughts from another?
Well, my best thing on recognizing feelings that aren't your own is like if you're in a good mood and now all of a sudden you feel sad, you ask yourself, do I have a reason to feel this way? Is there a cause and effect in my personal life for me to have taken on this other feeling that I'm feeling right now? And if the answer is no, there's no cause and effect for yourself to have gone from a great mood to all of a sudden down, then you start looking at the elements that are around you. And then you just work on separating yourself from them. And I think you've given plenty of good ways of how to deal with that.
That's a great way to explain it. I mean, again, within its basic framework, like Shiya just said, it is about simple science. We'll just frame it in that. There is a process. It is self-analysis. Every situation, every context, every analogy is unique. So you have to look at the dynamic within that moment. What are the variables? What's in play? What's changed? Who's involved? What actually are you feeling? So you take all those pieces of the puzzle and you put them together and you look at it. Now again, some elements will be easier to understand than others, so it's not a 100% context. You always want to start from a baseline of no expectations. Don't set yourself up. You go into it and you look at it for what it is, and then from there, you can take it and you can say, okay, this is mine, and this is somebody else's. And once you've been able to establish that, again, depending upon the context, you have a variety of different ways that you can now approach either getting rid of those unwanted feelings and thoughts or redirecting them, repurposing. Now again,
or changing the attitude of the person that you're around.
That's a little bit tougher, but it's a little deeper. But the simplest analogy usually is in our own self. What can we do? What can we change, control? And that's ourselves. So you can, like I do, you can put it into a framework of comedy, dark humor, sarcasm. You can switch the dynamic with either distraction, meditation. There are many different approaches, music, art. Again,
outlets, any kind of emotional
you kind of have to, you got to explore a little bit.
Rethinking or
right, you have to find, you have to find what works for you, and they will work at different times in different situations to different degrees. But you always go from, again, that basic open-mindedness to looking at the element.
I've always found...
And even if you recognize that it's not yours, you start again from that baseline that it is not something that's going to, it's not going to drown you. You know what I mean? You can dance with it. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
You've always found that... No, you forgot it. Okay.
So that's when you get a projector to come by and you get all weird and silly. Yeah, listen, there's a bunch of different analogies.
There's empathic receivers and there's empathic projectors. It's kind of like a broadcasting station versus a receiver radio. And some people can do both, like a CB or transistor radio kind of thing.
Yes, and you do feel like you hear another person. That is the indigo monkey.
Yes.
Howdy.
So there are three of us. Not one, not two, but three.
It's a perfect number.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, 3 is a sacred number.
In literary terms, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely. But yes, there is always the context that, again, especially for high-functioning empaths, other people's emotions, other people's energies will carry over. They will have a cause and effect. Just like when you touch fire, you will get burned.
Yes.
You touch snow, it's cold, it freezes.
Actually, cold doesn't really exist. Monkey and I were talking about that
the absence of heat, right?
It's the absence of heat.
Yep, scientifically speaking.
Science is fun!
Well, I mean, again, I talk about this all the time. What was magic 200 years ago is science now. Who the fuck knows where we're going to be in 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years?
Yep.
You know, just like we look at cavemen and we're just like, what the fuck?
Becca Bishop.
They're going to look at us in 2,000 years and be like, these guys are a bunch of fucking idiots.
I mean, even stuff that we can explain with science today, people still like to look at it through a magical lens. Like
the Earth is flat, man. I keep trying to tell you.
What?
No, it's not. The cats would have knocked it all off
sure,
the edge.
I guess. That's more delusional than magical.
Well, you mean like when God created the dinosaurs?
No.
With men?
That's why God invented air conditioning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that white Jesus?
That was definitely white Jesus. And Ronald Reagan.
And Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
See, Ronald Reagan's always got his hands in shit.
Oh,
He's fucking
yeah.
dead and he's still
Exactly.
carrying over. What you were saying?
I don't know.
Yeah, I just fucked the monkey up. I just was like, you know, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
When I do it to you.
Yeah, well, but that's what I do.
I think the main point that we're kind of ending up with is at least just to remember kindness, to be kind to yourself, to be kind to others, to do what you can to raise your vibration and the vibration of those around you. And if you see somebody
That's
in
good,
need,
yeah.
be as much, remember kindness. Just
But
whatever
the
you
other
can do
side
with
of that
kindness.
coin too is also remember you're not fucking crazy.
Yeah,
This
you're not
shit
crazy.
is real.
Yes.
Other people's energy carries over, okay?
And you
It's
don't
a
have
real
to be a doormat
thing.
to be kind. That's another thing.
Well, that's a good point too.
Do not have to be a doormat in order to be kind. You can have boundaries.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Offer
Well, they're
what you
important.
want to in terms of how you're willing to help, whatever, and
Exactly.
leave it at that. If they don't want it, they don't want it. You can't control that. From there, you need to work on you.
Yep.
Only so much you can do.
Exactly.
Well, listen, it is 10 p.m. It has been a great evening. Listen, I hope everybody has a safe and enjoyable Thanksgiving to whatever degree
Happy
you
Turkey Day.
celebrate and enjoy. Happy Turkey Day. Enjoy it. Love
If you
each
don't
other.
eat turkey, if you don't eat meat, it's fine. We don't judge you.
Yeah, no, that's
You
fine.
can get a tofurkin.
You
Actually,
get the tofuki or whatever.
tofurkin or
Tofurky?
tofuckin. Actually, if you look up tofuckin, it's a funny PETA video of all things, but it is freaking hilarious and it has an old lady who cusses on it. So just Google tofuckin.
Hey, listen,
You have
here's another classic analogy.
Granny
Access
potty
corned
mouth.
beef. You know, listen, I've done many different variations over the years. I don't always do, turkey for Thanksgiving.
Ziti and lasagna.
We've done ziti and lasagna.
Yeah.
But also in the same analogy, too, here's something, if nobody's never experienced this, here's a Thanksgiving Western culture tradition. Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant Massacre. If you've never heard Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant Massacre, listen to it. It'll be on most of the radio stations, Sirius, except it's on YouTube. But it's a classic kind of Thanksgiving analogy. It's a story about a Thanksgiving in a time,
I've never heard this.
in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I know.
It's a
You
great
can't
fucking
educate
little
me.
piece of American culture and music and folklore. It's a great little piece. And again, Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant Massacre. I highly recommend you all check it out. But listen, we're going to close it out with Time of the Phoenix, one of my tracks. I hope you guys have a great time. And yes, somebody asked, and can someone really make you feel sick around them? Yes, absolutely.
That's called an energy vampire.
Listen, people's
Or
energy
can
translates in a whole variety of different ways.
Well, your
Literally
radiation
make you-
analogy.
Yes, radiation.
They could be stressing out. That stress could make you physically ill.
Yes.
Yep.
See what happened. You've
Absolutely. It
experienced
is a
this.
real thing.
Yeah, personally.
So listen, have a great evening. Shiya will be back tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Wednesday. Oh, it's going to be an
It's
interesting.
What the fuck Wednesday.
It's going to be an interesting What the Fuck Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. So
Yes.
yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night. We're going to close out with a little bit of Time of the Phoenix. You all have a great evening.
I could turn back the time, then I wouldn't change any line. 'Cause the book of my life is written in stone. I never regretted all the things that I've done. 'Cause the book of my life is written in stone. I never regretted all the things that I've done. Wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now, it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. You got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. Wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now, it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. You got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. Things that I've done, the things that I've done, the things that I've done. The things that I've done, 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 the things that I've done. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. The time's not ripe to die. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. The time's not ripe.